Hi and welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name's Alison and today I'm going to do a what I read in September and what I'm going to read in October. Now the books that I'm going to read in October, I'm starting to get excited now because it's coming into spooky season, which means I can get into the more dark, maybe kind of dark books. I'm not into horror. Um, I don't like to be terrified, but I do like that kind of gothic spooky ghost story. I do apologise. I didn't do a video last week because I was really poorly with a cold. You can probably still hear it in my voice. So I apologise if my voice sounds a bit funny in this video. So the first book that I read in September was this one, Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. I know this has had a lot of hype, over the past, I don't know how long, and people have been going crazy about it and it's been everywhere, but it really did live up to the hype. I really enjoyed it. It's about a young lady called Kaya Clark and she lives in the marshes. They're kind of classed as not even second class citizens, such as the lowest class of citizen if you like, because they live in the marshes, don't really go into town very much, don't wear shoes or nice clothes or anything like that. But she's got such an amazing life in a lot of ways, being in the marshes. Um, she has a hard life too. She's bullied by the townspeople for being what she is. She doesn't have a charmed life, but she has a lot of other things that perhaps those people don't have. So she knows everything about the marshes and the wildlife and the tides and all of those things that she just picks up and notices all the time that maybe other people, people like us that live in, well established towns and stuff just don't notice in our everyday lives. It's a tale of loss and abandonment and abuse, but it's also a tale of love, friendships, often in very subtle ways. It's very much a tale of emotional and physical growth, coming of age and growing emotionally too. And I absolutely loved all the references to the natural world. There's just so much in there. I mean, I learned some things that I didn't know. The author's knowledge of the area and the natural world, the flora, fauna, the tides, the way that the tides work, the weather, and things like that really show through. It's really clear in this book that she really does know what she's talking about. I loved it. Really loved it. But I'm very much into wildlife and things like that anyway. So I really enjoyed the story. It was a lovely story. So I highly recommend this book. So the next one that I read was this one, The Wonder by Emma Donoghue. Beautiful covers to this book. Now this book had been recommended to me, and it was on my list to read at some point, but then I saw that it's being made into a movie. I think it is already in production. So I wanted to read it before the movie came out because I like to do it that way rather than the other way around. So I got hold of this book. I bought this second hand actually. It only cost me a couple of pounds on Amazon. Lovely hardback for a couple of quid. I read this, before everything else came out. Now I'm going to kind of read you a little bit of what I took notes as I went along because I can't always remember by the time I get to this point at the end of the month. So what I actually said was, so this is about a lady called Lib Wright. She's a nurse. I wrote that she's very competent and thorough, but also arrogant, snobby, and disrespectful in her attitude. I was finding it really hard at this point to continue the book because I really didn't like her. But I'm guessing that was also kind of the point. You were supposed to see the differences. So Lib Wright has been called from the UK to Ireland to stand watch with another nurse over a young lady who it's been said hasn't eaten for, I think it was 4 months, hasn't eaten anything at all for that length of time and seems to be thriving. So she's called over there to stand watch. Now she's a Nightingale nurse. She was trained by Florence Nightingale herself. So this is why she's so forthright and competent and everything has to be done to the T. But because she's come from England in this time period over to Ireland, she's quite obviously these two places are very different at that point in time. They've just had the potato famine, people have been starving in Ireland, and she's quite horrible actually about the way of life over there. She doesn't get it at all, and she really doesn't try to at first. she doesn't really try to at all, if I'm honest. So yeah, I really disliked her. I disliked the way that she spoke to people, the way that she thought about their way of life, just because it was different to her. So I did struggle, but I'm glad I persevered. I got about 50 pages in before I started to warm to her, warm to the book, which is when she started to soften slightly, started to become concerned for her patient, and you know, was a lot nicer basically all round. So yeah, her and this nun stand watch over this girl, and she does begin to notice things without giving anything away. She begins to notice things, she begins to get concerned, and she sort of becomes detective, if you like. She was only there to keep watch. She wasn't supposed to pass any comment or interfere at all, but you know, she's a nurse. She's trained to make things better. So obviously she does sort of do her bit. This is not an action-packed book. This is a slow book. But that's okay. It's supposed to be like that. It's slow burning. It's slow moving, and things unfold in their own time. And you know, if you're not into that kind of book, then you might struggle a little bit, which is me. I struggle a bit with slow books, but it was well worth it. I'm glad I persevered. It came out well in the end, and I am really, really glad that I read it. So yeah, I would recommend this book, but be prepared not to like the main character at first, and that it's quite a slow burning type book. The third book that I read in September is this one, The Daughters of Red Hill Hall, Kathleen McGill. And again, a book that I really enjoyed. It runs two parallel kind of stories running together about two sets of two people, two girls. So one in the 1800s and another one in modern day times. So the ones in the 1800s are raised as sisters, although they're not sisters, but they've been raised in the same house as sisters. And the two in the modern times are two best friends. So it runs parallel. You sort of read a little bit about one set of circumstances and then the other one, and their lives are kind of intermeshed slightly, and at the end they do get kind of entwined. I don't really want to tell you too much about it, but you've got that modern day aspect to it, and you've got that historical fiction kind of aspect to it. So it's really good for both of those. So on the front of the book, it says a gripping novel of family secrets and murder, which is basically what it is. The back says when Gemma discovers a pair of ancient dueling pistols encrusted with rubies in the basement of their local museum, she's immediately intrigued. So on a fateful night in 1838, two sisters were found shot in the cellars of Red Hill Hall, and when Gemma begins to delve deeper into their history, excuse me, got a bit of a tickle, she begins to realise the secrets of that night are darker than anyone had ever imagined. As the shocking events of the past begin to unravel, Gemma's own life starts to fall apart. Loyalties are tested, and suddenly it seems as if history is repeating itself as Gemma learns that female friendships can be deadly. So yeah, it's all about Gemma, who's the modern day girl, is kind of investigating what happened in the hall all of those years ago, and trying to find where these pistols came from. And then obviously you've got that historical novel running alongside it, so you've got that going on. So you kind of finding out what it is before she's found out what it is. But yeah, I recommend that book. It was really good. So the last book that I read in September is this one, Murder at the House on the Hill by Victoria Walters. Now, Victoria Walters is quickly becoming one of my favourite authors. I like her other Glenfield Hall books, and this is her first time writing a murder mystery. And not the last, because she's going to be doing some more in this series. Because I've not been well over the last week or so, I have spent quite a bit of time in bed and recovering, which I thought would be great time for reading. I'll get through loads of books. What actually happened was I wasn't able to concentrate on anything at all, so I haven't actually finished reading this book yet. I've only just started it. So what I'm going to do is just read you the blurb. Now this has just come out. It came out, I think it was last week. It's brand new out. But yeah, it's so far so good, and I'm enjoying it, so I would recommend that you get hold of it. So Nancy Hunter and her grandmother Jane Hunter run the Deadly Endings bookshop, selling crime, thriller and mystery books in a small, quiet Cotswold village where nothing ever happens. We always think that, don't we? This is until the wealthy, reclusive Roth family open up their mansion for the first time in 30 years, inviting the people of Deadly End to a lavish engagement party. While everyone is thrilled to finally look around the mansion on the hill, the festivities are quickly cut short when the beautiful Lucy, recently married to her young Harry Roth, is found dead after being pushed over a first-floor balustrade. But who amongst the guests could have been capable of her murder, and why? Nancy and Jane decide to investigate. After all, not only do they own a crime-themed bookshop, they were also both named after famous literary detectives. But soon they wonder if they've taken on more than they can handle, especially when it seems the killer has worked out what they're doing and is hot on their heels. So yeah, I've got to the point where the murder has happened, and they're just starting to sleuth it out and see if they can find out who done it. So yeah, I'm not usually into this kind of books either. The sort of the murder mystery. I say I'm not. I just haven't read any up to now. So this is one of my first ones, really. I'm hoping to read lots more though, because I think it's probably my kind of thing. I've just not done it before. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting this book finished. My voice is starting to let me down a little bit, but we'll carry on with the books that I'm going to read in October. Now, I don't know about you, but I really like to read seasonally. So once the nights start to draw in, it starts getting darker. I feel like reading things that are darker. When it's bright sunshine outside, I want to read all about holidays and bookshops and beautiful things. So the first one that I'm going to, well, I don't know what order I'm going to read these in, but I have already started this one just a little bit. And these are on my shelf. Let me just move those flowers. So the first one is Dracul by Dacra Stoker and J.D. Barker. So this book is a prequel to Dracula, and it's written by Bram Stoker. I think it's his great nephew or his great nephew, something like that. And he found Bram Stoker's old diaries and things like that, and decided to write this prequel using his stuff. Now, I've heard a bit about it, but obviously I've only got a tiny way through so far. So I can't really tell you much about it yet, apart from reading a bit of the blurb, which is inside. So the year is 1868, and 21-year-old Bram Stoker has barricaded himself inside the room at the top of the tower of a long abandoned abbey. He is armed with mirrors, crucifixes, holy water, a basket of white roses and a gun. His only solace is in a bottle of plum brandy. His fervent prayer is that he will survive this one night. Time is short, and he hurriedly writes down the disturbing events that have brought him here. The tale he tells is a terrifying one, of a Dublin childhood full of sickness, a mysterious nanny, and those presumed dead who live again, of stories once thought to be fables but now proved true. From the other side of that locked door awaits an ungodly nightmare that he hoped had ended years before. Nearly 150 years after the publication of Dracula, Bram Stoker's great-grandnephew, Dacra Stoker, went back to his ancestors' original journals and notebooks to look into the mysteries and unanswered questions surrounding that extraordinary novel. Drawing on what he found, he and best-selling author J.D. Barker have crafted this chilling story, one that takes readers back to the very beginning to reveal the origins of Count Dracula himself, of his creator, and of the elusive, enigmatic woman who bound them together. So I thought that sounded really like spooky and interesting and mysterious. So I'm really looking forward to going through this. It's quite a thick one, so I think I'm going to do this one first and get it out of the way. But yeah, looking forward to that one. Next one that I want to read in October is this one, The Lost Ones by Anita Frank. Look at this beautiful cover. It's so nice. Again, I bought this one second hand, but it's beautiful paper, beautiful hardback. So this one is about, let's have a look. There had to be a rational explanation, I told myself firmly as I pushed back the covers. I sat shivering in the darkness, waiting for the plaintive sound to pierce the air again. When it finally came, I almost persuaded myself it was nothing more than the wind sighing through the loose sash. But then it came again, and I knew it was not. That's all it says. So that's kind of exciting. Oh, actually, there's a little bit more in the front. Let's have a quick look at this in the front. So England 1917, reeling from the death of her fiancé, Stella Marcham welcomes the opportunity to stay with her pregnant sister Madeline at her imposing country mansion, Greyswick. These things always take place in mansions, don't they? But she arrives to discover a house of unease and her sister gripped by fear and suspicion. Before long, strange incidents begin to trouble Stella. Sobbing in the night, little footsteps on the stairs, and as the events escalate, she finds herself drawn to the tragic history of the house. Aided by a wounded war veteran, Stella sets about uncovering Greyswick's dark and terrible secrets. Secrets the dead whisper from the other side. Ooh, that's kind of cool. It says, in the classic tradition of The Woman in Black, Anita Frank weaves a spellbinding debut of family tragedy, loss and redemption. So yeah, that's another nice one for spooky season. The Lost Ones. If you've read any of these books, please do let me know down below what you thought of them. Don't give me any spoilers though, but let me know how you got on with them, what you thought about them. Next, The Silent Companions by Laura Purcell. These are books that I've kind of heard about, but I don't know a lot about, but I have heard people saying that they've enjoyed them. So let's see what this one's about. Newly married, newly widowed Elsie is sent to see out her pregnancy at her late husband's crumbling country estate. You see, another mansion house. The Bridge. With her new servants resentful and the local villagers actively hostile, Elsie only sees her husband's awkward cousin for company. Or so she thinks. For inside her new home lies a mysterious wooden figure, a silent companion that bears an unsettling resemblance to Elsie herself. And the Sunday Express have said it's deliciously creepy. Oh, again, it's been Laura Purcell has nailed it with a story that conjures up The Woman in Black, The Turn of the Screw and Rebecca, which I love kind of all of those. So this sounds like it's going to be a really good read too. So looking forward to that one. The last book that I want to read in October, because I'm probably going to only read 4, is this one, A Secret History of Witches. So I had decided I wanted to read Rebecca this month, or reread Rebecca, but because I already know the story, and I managed to get this one for 99p on Amazon for my Kindle. So I decided that I'm going to read this one because you can't go all the way through October and not read a book about witches, can you? So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about this one. It says, discover a magical historical saga of mothers, daughters and powerful witchcraft, perfect for fans of A Discovery of Witches, Outlander and Nora Roberts. So Brittany, 1821, after Grandmère Ursule gives her life to save her family, their magic seems to die with her. Even so, the Orquier, I think it says Orquier, fight to keep the old ways alive, practicing half-remembered spells and arcane rites in hopes of revival. When their youngest daughter comes of age, magic flows anew. The lineage continues through new generations that struggle not only to master their power but also to keep it hidden. But when World War II looms on the horizon, magic is needed more urgently than ever. Not for the simple potions or visions, but to change the entire course of history. That sounds exciting. So the author for this one is Louisa Morgan. So yeah, I'm looking forward to giving that a read as well, because you've got to read at least one book about witches, haven't you, in October. And I might follow that up as well if I can fit them in with some others. I've got some others on standby in case I finish those ones. I hope you enjoyed this little roundup of what I read in September and what I'm going to read in October, and I hope you found something that maybe you'd like to read as well. I'd love to know what you're going to be reading in October down below, so please do comment. I'm always looking for things. This is probably going to be my favourite month for reading. I'm always looking for the spooky, not scary, but spooky books that I can get my teeth into. Pardon the pun. So I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope that you'll join me again next time. See you soon. Bye bye.